do have to work. It's on vacation till June. So. But I'm here.
Yay, me too. I think this camera placement will work. It's capturing all the seats. All right. And it's recording, just so you're aware.
How are you doing?
Okay.
Job-wise and
I'm perfectly happy.
things have not only changed because of COVID, but just the topsy-turvy of everything.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to go through that much change all at once.
It's been an eventful year or two or three. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, sweetie.
I'm sitting in for Danny tonight.
Okay.
The recording has already started, just so you know.
Okay.
So go ahead and grab your name tag and those notes. Make yourself comfortable. Thank you. And just choose where we get to sit. How did you do last time? We usually sit out here.
No, we actually sat.
Oh, did
here
you guys do
because
that this last time when I was absent?
We have to do the recording and you have to press to talk. So they made us do this.
That's good to know.
Yeah, whenever you talk, you have to do the press
Okay.
and talking to it.
Well, thank you for that. Hi.
We're up in the big spot?
Yes.
That's what I said.
There's a fly in here.
I'm sitting in for
Apparently
Danny
you and I
tonight,
missed that
and
last
the
time.
recording is already in progress, just so you know.
Okay, so I keep the F bombs. We still have a couple more minutes, right?
We do.
Yes. And we've got name tags there and printouts if you need the
Yeah,
agenda.
you should have your name.
My name?
Right here.
The little placard. Hi, Lois. I'm sitting in for Danny tonight.
Okay.
The recording has already started, so
Oh, am I late?
no. I
So
just had to
curious,
work out the,
recording was started. Even though the meeting-
She has to be in two places at once.
I started it early so I could make sure everything was aligned correctly and working. Yeah, it's my first time.
So I still have 3 minutes.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, how are you?
Good. A little overworked right now. Yeah.
I can't say that, I'm retired.
Oh.
That's it. Good. And scanned.
Okay, he's the.
Alright. So. We need one more person before we have a quorum.
Yeah, we're missing. So. I'm surprised we have this many period, because I thought Danny was the quorum, so, yeah, I thought he was, we only had 4 here, yeah.
I don't think he counts though. He's not a board member.
No, he doesn't.
So Susan, does Chris count?
I don't think
Don't think
so.
so. He's a liaison.
So we're hoping
So
for
we-
either Susie or Rick.
Well, we know that Susie's out of town.
Okay, so no Susie, no Kathleen.
No Luke.
Yeah.
So we need Rick.
Rick comes, then we have 4, we've
Yeah.
got 4.
Yeah.
All right.
There he is. Ah, not a problem.
Hello. I'm sitting in for Danny tonight.
Well, you don't look like me. All right. A lot of pressure for you.
Really unrelated reason, but the next day my husband tested positive for COVID. Oh, so I think it was a good thing that I missed last month.
That was lucky.
COVID, I can tell you about COVID right now.
You can.
Oh,
We have
both my
3
husband and I
people.
went through it a month ago.
I went through day 5 of isolation and had my
Test.
Paxlovid and Rexulti and whatever, the therapeutic, and now I'm on the 5th day of mask only. Tomorrow I should be 100%.
So
Yeah.
that they gave you something for it?
Yeah, it's actually, it's a drug that has been modified over the last 6 months to a year. It's called Paxlovid, PAXLOVID. And it's kind of like the standard treatment now. You can have a mild case or a medium case. After, within the first 5, you got people in the first 5 days of symptoms.
I couldn't find a doorstop.
You're gonna use the garbage can, but I'm guessing we're not gonna have a big audience.
Mine now.
And it hurts a little bit.
Real bad. First couple of days.
Mine was like a really bad cold.
Really bad.
Did they have audience for
Had a light fever.
Planning commission sometimes, when they get applicants,
Yeah, so anyway, it works, so.
That's good.
This is not
Figure
busy.
precaution, not just do this, another, you know,
That's what I did too.
Planning is the biggest
My
deal.
husband got it on day
Yeah,
5,
yeah.
and his having it was when I came home, I was positive. And
Oh,
then, yeah, so.
yeah.
I'm so close.
She was leaving just so
Any,
close.
you have
That was unlucky.
yeah, you did.
Okay.
It's a delay.
Strong drink. How this works.
I was saying, I don't
really
know.
didn't do that. I was so worried
Did you have it?
in July.
Oh, in July, yeah.
And I had like public meetings.
I was telling them that, because I missed last month, same as you, the next day, that Wednesday, my husband tested positive, so I think it was a sign, a good thing I missed last month.
You know what?
How
Are
my
you
friends
taking notes?
No, you know what? Library staff are gonna do it from now on, which is the other reason for the recording, so that we can review it at our leisure.
Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna touch you, right?
It's me and Marissa. We're gonna trade off. And I haven't used this system before. Do I need to push the speaker?
Press it while you're talking.
That's the green button going.
Yeah. Okay.
What we have to do.
There you go.
Okay.
You can let
Speak,
go.
turn the green, turn the button on.
You
Bring the
can-
thing close.
So in the absence of Danny or the chair or the vice chair, I think we should go ahead and get this meeting started. We have to be done by 6:30 so that the other group can get in on time.
There we go. I just leave it on, shut up and everybody.
Yes, you
So you do not have, you don't have COVID right now?
Oh, no, I'm on the 5-day, I got through with my, there's no, you know, the first 5 days.
I guess I am.
I took drugs the first 5 days.
Has everyone had a chance to review the April minutes draft? And do you have any
Oh, yeah.
suggested changes?
Okay, where are we at here? Sorry.
I read the draft and it looked good to me.
We're on the, okay,
I think we need to have a movement to approve the minutes as written. I'm not pushing the button.
What do I say?
I wanted,
Press it once, there you go.
I move we approve the April minutes as written. Denise is seconding that.
I'll second it, but I want to make one minor adjustment, if that's all right.
Yes.
What?
It is.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. What it is just a clarification. I'm kind of a date freak here. And in the minutes on the non-collection item paragraph, I think it's on section 2, page 2, it says non-collection material, so on and so forth, which based on my notes that I just briefly took at the last meeting, Danny confirmed that he submitted our clean copy, our final copy to administration, to city administrator Scott. And it was approved that, my understanding was approved that day. So because of that, I figured, well, I'm a date guy, so let's just, so I asked him at the end of the meeting. And Susie was doing a lot of, I mean, she's taking a lot of notes, and this is just a clarification. And he verbally said that policy, the non-collection policy, which we suggested, the 19.3 specifically, was approved and effective the next day, the next morning. So that would be the 20th. So I was just going to say that, and I could leave that first sentence and just eliminate the word accepted, and just cross out accepted. And I was going to add one sentence that says, It has been approved by the city administrator and is effective April 20th, 2022.
Okay, thank you. We'll make that change.
And that was my only suggestion for the minutes.
All in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye. Aye.
Any nays?
I don't get to vote.
That's approved, thank you. I don't believe we have any public comment. All right, informational reports. Council liaison?
That's me. Hold on here. I'm turning on my green thing because I think we're supposed to.
Yeah.
So the city council met a couple of weeks ago. We appointed Art Marine as our new city councilor in a position that has been vacated repeatedly. Was elected originally, I believe Tracy Height, and then she resigned and was replaced by Bergie, who then resigned and was replaced by Jordan Tibbles, who won the election to replace that spot, who then resigned and then was replaced by David Bajoran, who resigned, and now Art Marine is going to fill out the last 8 months or 6 months or some such of that position. It has to be the unluckiest city council position in the history of the city council. We approved the food cart and food cart pods ordinance. So Canby, which has outlawed food carts, will now probably start having some food carts. And then we had a first reading of a new police contract and a contract with a street maintenance contractor for summer improvements. So what happens is for an ordinance, you have to approve it twice. So there's 2 readings. And so we went through the first readings for both of those events. So in the next meeting, which is tomorrow night, we're likely to approve both of those events. And the city always does a bunch of summer road improvements. I know that the 13th Street is pretty rough down to the first speed hump. That'll be fixed. And I forget, I think North Locust is getting fixed. And I don't remember what the list is, but that's what those contracts were. The only other thing that's really relevant for us is that Amy Noss is going to help us with our shortage of members here in the Library Advisory Board. Since the Library Advisory Committee has met last, Kathleen and I and Susie Stutz interviewed Amy Noss and recommended that she be appointed to the Library Advisory Board. But that's going to be on tomorrow night's agenda for the City Council as part of our consent agenda. So it would be extraordinarily unusual for that not to happen tomorrow night. So she will be joining us in our meetings. She seems pretty excited to join the Library Advisory Board. There were actually 2 applicants. One was out of city limits and one was inside city limits. And we have this rule that says that 6 have to be in city limits and 2 have to be outside of city limits. We did not interview the other applicant. But perhaps in the future, if an outside city limits person creates a vacancy, then that person come back. So that's it from the City Council.
You. And I believe Kathleen sent out her board report or board chair report in advance. Any comments on this? I can't answer questions, but I'm happy to, pass those along to Kathleen. All right. Board member reports.
I have, excuse me, for your permission, I don't know if you want to discuss this now. I thought what I would do is throw it out there. We can put it in the discussion area or cover it now. But I want to bring the board up to date that Kathleen and I are kind of the remaining people on the subcommittee that we were talking about, the 2.20 city ordinance and the various things that go with that. And we're following the board's instructions from the minutes, from the motion that was made the last meeting, that nobody really wants to become an attorney and pursue research on ORS statutes and so forth. So we got that pretty well cleared up. However, Joe Lindsay was here, and in the course of discussion, it turns out, and this is my take of it, that he agreed that it would be appropriate if there's any clarification with city ordinances, wording, suggestions that do not conflict with anything else, with either Oregon Library or statutes or the IRA, the Intergovernmental Agreement, IGA, that he would be happy to help us one-on-one if one of the board members had a clarification, or this subcommittee that we were talking about. So there's nothing really to present, except I want to let the board know that Kathleen and I did meet on April 28th here in the library for about an hour or so. And we just came up with some brainstorming, editing type things, because some of it looked a little bit stale as far as what's in there. Some of it needed a clarification. Some of it we didn't have background or why a particular sentence was there. So it's strictly between the subcommittee and us and Joe if we have any questions, and that way we keep it focused. And that's so that's kind of what we did. Kathleen and I, you don't have any paperwork on it, but all I can do is, and I don't want to go into the whole things we kicked around, but one of the sentences she said that she wanted the board, our board here to hear is her notes, and she gave me a copy of it because she couldn't be here today. She would probably read this to you, but I'll just give you the paragraph. It says, and this is really in reference to the emphasis on powers and duties, where there seems to be some kind of conflict, or at least misunderstandings on how important it is, how it's prioritized in between Oregon Library Association and the IGA and us is like, it's coming 3 different directions. So where this paragraph, it kind of refers to the number of duties that are in place. And I'm not going to go through all that again, but her notes are just read it to. It says we reviewed, and this is our meeting. We reviewed CMC 2.20.060, list A through L, which is the powers and duties section. In light of the size of the board, the 1-hour monthly meeting time limit, that's what we meet here, and existing communication practices suggest that the CMC section 2.20.060 powers and duties is an area of the Canby Municipal Code and Library Board Handbook, which does appear to indicate it would be helpful to schedule a working discussions among board members, followed up with the board members meeting with the appropriate members of the library and city staff. The discussions could refine the duties and priorities within the board's capabilities and existing limitations, and could designate duties more appropriate to staff, if any. And that's kind of the gist of this whole process. Again, without not getting into legal stuff, but it's mainly more editing and also responsibilities and powers and duties and responsibilities. And I think we've all been kind of discussing this since we joined, ever since I've been on the board. It's been kind of coming up kind of all the time, and we haven't really focused. So this is just a suggestion to move forward, but the impetus is starting a little bit with just this little brief, small editing section. And I'll give you just one example of an edit that we think should be looked at some point. And right now we have in the ordinance, and this is in the voting section, the mayor voting in, this is our kind of our comments so far. It could be changed. The mayor is now listed as the deciding vote in a tie vote. We have no history on it. We have no notes, no minutes, where it came from.
In the library advisory board?
But yeah, if we took a vote here and it was 4-4, 6-6, whatever, and it was that important a vote that you couldn't do a consensus, you had to have a vote. And I don't know how many things in my lifetime working, volunteering for the city that we had to have that many votes, to be honest with you. Most of it was consensus on advisory boards. But this is just a heads up. So anyway, that's right in there. So we've had a suggestion. This was a suggestion that kind of gives you an example of some things to look at. The mayor voting on a board, this is Kathleen's notes, a notes section. It's got nothing to do with amending anything. It's just notes of our subcommittee meeting. The mayor voting in a board tie vote was found to be confusing. Please explain the necessity for this statement. This is something to Joe. These are notes to Joe. Please explain the necessity for this statement. Currently, a tie vote in a library advisory board meeting could result in the motion being tabled or dropped entirely or amended / revised and then passed. So that was the other possibilities that could happen. So anyway, that's an example of going to Joe and asking, can this be amended? Is this possible to be amended in an ordinance? Or what?
We actually talked a little bit about that when we added the teen vote, that it would work in our favor to, if you have 6 and 2, by adding the teen vote, you had an odd number, which would help us get past that. But yeah, whether it's needed to be in there or not, it's long-term.
And if it's a tie vote, that's why we wanted to ask him, what is the legal interpretation of and how critical, how critical is it? It just tabled or it's brought back another, amended, or actually essentially, it's really a no vote. If it's a tie vote, it's a no vote, basically.
I think we have a comment from Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick, I would agree with that. If it's a tie, 4-4, for example, or in this case, 2-2. Are there only 4 of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's 8 of us in the committee?
Well, we have one, we're working with a number of 7 because it's a vacant slot. So we're not working from 8.
Oh, okay.
But we have one out of town, 2.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I know. It's just possible we might not be satisfying quorum
is
tonight.
2/3 to 7.
So anyway, in the Supreme Court or other courts, a tie is a no vote, just like you say. And for an advisory committee, as the liaison, if it was a tie, I would refer that to the city council anyway.
Yeah.
The purpose of the library advisory board is to make advice to the city council. So if it's a tie, I would still share that.
Yeah.
But you're right, it doesn't make any sense to have the mayor, who is never here.
He parachutes in for a meeting and decides something.
I'm like, we can text him, but yeah, that's a good example of a thing that needs to be adjusted.
So anyway, that's an example of clarification, why, and can we make things smoother?
And that's in our city code or?
That is in the ordinance.
Yeah, the city ordinance code.
And most of the stuff all of it is really city ordinance because it's enhancements or it's conflict with other guidelines from Oregon Library Association or the IGA. So that's why we want Joe involved to sort it out, where are we going with this? But
After the meeting, can you give me that
This seemed to me,
specific
this
section
mayor
of the
thing
code?
seemed to come out of nowhere. We couldn't see it readily anywhere else in any other jurisdiction, so.
Afterwards, can you tell me where in that code that is?
Yeah, sure.
If you have it written down, thanks.
Anyway, I just want to give you that update that we met and everything, and there's nothing to decide and there's nothing to present right now. We're just kind of doing research between the subcommittee and Joe. And, by the way, we haven't heard back from Joe yet. Okay, so that's we're waiting for his reply on our comments.
Okay, thank you for that report. Any other board member reports? Okay, we can move on to the LDAC report. Okay, so the movement in LDAC has been that we lost Catherine Cole, who is now going to slide from library network manager. And she was pretty much the connecting person for LDAC, at least for our library. And they don't have a replacement for her yet. She'll be transitioning out and she will
be managing the Rockwood Library. So we're really happy for her, but very sad because she really was a hub for us. So, but that doesn't mean that LDAC is changing itself. It's just the connection we had. So they're still hoping to have a meeting. I don't have any dates yet, and looking forward to having that meeting when it's produced. So.
Thank you for that. I don't believe that Luke sent in the report, did he? I didn't see one. So we'll skip the team liaison report. And the director's bi-monthly report. You all have a chance to look at it. It's just 2 pages. It's got our statistics for March and April. No changes to staffing. Our visitor numbers and circulation have gone up since the winter. At the beginning of April, we expanded hours. Now we're open 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday, and 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. In terms of collection management, staff are finishing up with ordering right about now so that everything's received by the end of the fiscal year. Also in April, we started doing in-person programs again. So that was a welcome return to pre-pandemic procedures. We've been having story times every week and occasional teen programs and adult programs. There's some photos from different events and workshops. And there was an Earth Day giveaway for young adult and teen patrons. They got books on an Earth Day topic and reusable straws. I think those are the highlights. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I had a question. I just wanted to know, are the schools connecting with you? When I go past the elementary school, it seems like a ghost town. So I don't see the schools really ramped up to what they were before. Does that affect us in the library as far as the programs? We used to have all those, like the technical type clubs and stuff. We're not seeing that yet, are we?
Not yet. We've been starting back slow with programming. And I'm not really sure what the next few months will look like. Everything kind of goes on hold in the summer for summer reading, June, July, and August. And I think we try to publicize that through the schools, but it's not technically a school program. So we'll just have to wait and see how things look in the fall.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other questions about the director's bi-monthly report? Okay. Friends of the Library report.
Let's sit down. The notes. Everybody get them, chance to read them? Thank you. Or they relate, like they all have other town companies that we relate, but I got them. So the big news is that we are back to having big book sales. We are going to continue having them on the plaza. It's a big enough overhang if it rains, and we're going to go back to something we did a couple years ago. Well, we do free ice cream every year, but doing the kids' crafts, trying to get the kids involved, because it's the same day that the kids pick up their summer reading packets, which we found works out very, very, very well. So. And it's free ice cream.
Yeah, I was wondering why it wasn't on a weekend, and then you explained it. It's coordinated with, yeah.
It's coordinating
Yeah,
to
okay.
happen with.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's really for the kids, although you get ice cream to everybody. The moms enjoy it too. Yeah. Well, we found, when we did the balloon guy last year, we actually found the adults were just as stand in line to get a balloon as the kids were. That they're just big kids. We made several of the old ladies very happy with that. So
It has been.
it has been around. Everybody does a balloon and ice
Right.
cream. Yeah. And the most important part is, of course, that they approved the budget from the library to the Friends. So, yes. I mean, that is why the Friends exist. The Friends exist to pay for the programs for the library. So it's good to see they, and the the book sales, has always been the main source of revenue. And it's, before COVID, it was averaging 900 to 1,200 a month, and it's back up to around $1,000 a month. So that's really good. So at least it gives us money to pay for the programs that the library wants to offer.
Lois,
Oh, I didn't have the thing on us.
I noticed that. I noticed that you have the summer concert series were announced. Do you have advertisement flyers or things going up anywhere?
Yeah, I don't know kind of all the details on that. That was something that actually, so the Hannah Hofer, runs the adult programs, and she used to have music in the stacks. And then when Calvin LeSueur was at the city, he came down and said, well, maybe we should, COVID, maybe we should try to do something outside. So last year they did something. We did 3, concerts outside, which actually were, very well received. And so this is working with the city again, and I'm not on the board anymore, but it's working with the city. And so, yes, there'll be all kinds of advertising about that. I just don't know what the details of the advertising will be, but it's actually in coordination. It's between the Friends, the library, and the city. It's all 3 coordinating together to make this happen. So the city will be advertising a lot as well.
That's exciting.
Yes. If you've never gone, I mean, we had a brass group from Portland last year, and they were absolutely fabulous. People were saying, like, you've got to bring them back again. We want them. So, yeah, it's Waite Park, summertime, sitting around, very, casual. So I think there's one in July, August, September, I think.
Right.
We decided June and October were too iffy. So, yeah, there's the dates there.
What was that question?
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, there was an issue involving copy machine usage by the Friends of the Library at the City Hall. And I had a meeting with Scott Archer and Danny to try and make sure that issue was resolved to the satisfaction of our Friends of the Library. Was that issue resolved, or is there some lingering resentment there?
Well, I think it just took people kind of by surprise that in giving that, all the copying that was being done was for the library. I mean, it wasn't for, I use the copier out in the public area for myself. Lizzie has helped me use it before. She can tell you that. So I think it was really kind of it took us back. And I know the reason that we did it was because Irene wanted the money to go to pay for programs and not for us to be paying a big printing bill elsewhere. So she basically said, use the library copiers and things like that. So, Danny had a different take on it, and basically the Friends have made other arrangements. And so the library copiers are not being used for Friends of the Library business.
What library or what copy machines are being used?
I don't know what they're doing, but I think that they got their own small copier to copy the things that have to be copied regularly. So, because there's a newsletter that goes out, and the problem with, it's an all volunteer organization, but we have made an effort to really track the costs. And when people are just doing all this copying at home, that you're not really truly tracking the costs associated with running the Friends. So that's why we've been in an effort to, and we're not talking about copying like 1 or 2 pieces of paper. Everybody does that, but we're talking about copying, 50 to 70 to 100 items. And so we're trying to track the cost so that we really can say, this is what it costs for the Friends to actually operate. So.
I wouldn't mind knowing what that cost is, but you won't know until the end of the year.
Right. So.
Thank you, Lois. Okay, on to discussion items. So board officers for the next fiscal year, I guess starting in July. Do we have a chair lined up?
Is Kathleen term limited?
I think so. I don't have that in front of me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she was supposed to provide information she didn't send it out, I guess. She was supposed to provide some information for us on kind of what the limit, what parameters timing out. And I have to reapply because I was
You're
hired,
filling in.
appointed
Right.
on a, yes, to fill in for somebody else's, so I have to reapply. And, but yeah, that's something that I think we need Kathleen for,
Okay.
because she was the one who was putting all that together.
I feel like it should be tabled until we have all the board members present as well
Yes.
for volunteers or selection.
I can tell you that we took care of it the last time in about 2 minutes at the very end of a meeting. And the last person left was the chair. But not that we want to think lightly of it, but we have been swapping seats often, over and over. And it's just trying to get the person that can commit to the extra work that it takes. And just the people that were already embedded in other parts of the board, taking on another hat was hard to do. We were all kind of wearing two already. But I think all of us should think about that. Think what we're doing, what our gifts are. And if you would like to have a position, it would be really nice to know who would like that. Of course, that information would help to have what does that person do. So I'll talk to Kathleen about maybe drawing out some papers. I think we might have something somewhere that has those positions. But I will pick up on that to try to have that for the next meeting to kind of at least summarize what we're thinking. But in the meantime, each member should think as well and kind of look at your schedule and how you can fulfill the position. But I know that we always are going to need to go a little bit beyond what we want to do because time is always double what you think it will be when you're doing, like even a subcommittee or something. It takes time to go through. So we need to be the volunteers that can take that little bit extra.
So just to clarify, I apologize, so I didn't hear from the beginning, but I was
Sure.
concentrating. As far as terms, that's kind of, you're talking about positions on like a chairperson or president or vice president at slots,
Right.
officer slots is
Right.
what you're talking about.
Right.
So, I mean, without getting too much, we have a president, or I call it chairperson, person who runs the meeting, and a vice person chair. And those, we want to research those duties. What would they be?
Correct.
Is there anything beyond that? As far as as far as a secretary or someone that takes minutes and does that kind of processing and administrative work, that's kind of been eliminated. because-
What happens though is you move one person into one of those positions and their position opens. So it's kind of like a musical chair.
Right,
So each one of these, the chair, vice chair, then LDAC, then you have.
right, I'm sorry, yeah, right.
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 And
So you have designated slots for that. That's what you're talking
yeah,
Okay.
and if somebody moves up,
about. Yeah,
we could lose one of those and hopefully we would know right then and there if somebody's willing to step in.
you want to have some kind of succession process to it also, if someone's in training for that, or they might be the most
Exactly.
experienced person because they've already done LDAC and they've already been a vice president. Well, maybe they could step in and do a year's term as a president, that type of thing.
We're supposed to have even an LDAC assistant, like the lower,
Okay,
that is doing that. And I think each one of these would be
Okay.
wonderful if we could do that.
okay,
Because exactly that, when your term's over, you need to fill that slot. It's good to have somebody that's had some experience with it and understands the topics that you ended with so they can continue. So this COVID and movement of directors and things
Yeah.
it really flipped us. And we were there were like two people that knew everything and all these newbies. And we just need to try to kind of regain that foundation so we can keep moving forward without having to step back and learn things all over again.
And just not to go any further, but basically it's analogous to a president-elect. You know, you got a president, that's, the term is going to expire, and 2 or 3 meetings before that happens, the elect person is already, applied for or is accepted to be the next. So
Yeah.
you don't have a gap.
Yeah, the LDAC one was an alternate
Okay,
and we lost that
Yeah,
alternate. That was
so-
it. So
yeah.
we do need to fill that one.
right. So it's just kind of how you define it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's really hard. And I have a problem also with limiting these, it got nothing to do with that, but just limiting terms in general. That's something that we're going to talk to Joe about. I mean, is that set in does that have to be set in concrete?
It is for all the libraries.
And-
Again, though,
and-
if we can come to some sort of a change that works better for our library,
Yeah.
I can't see where somebody might not be willing to look at that.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, not to
It's
change
a-
laws.
yeah,
or change
exactly.
ordinances, just like, okay, is this set in concrete or just, are we creating a problem that we don't have to have? I was on park, for example, just quickly, I was on Park and Rec Board, I think almost 20 years. And I'm sure there was something exactly like this
Mhm.
in an ordinance that said, yeah. And hey, empty chairs. You still want to do the job? Yeah. So,
I think it's a disservice to the public to
yeah,
have to take somebody away that's willing
let's
to
kick somebody
keep
off.
going
and
and doing well.
No
But
controversy, and you want new blood, and the town is 3 times bigger than when I came here.
Yeah.
And you want new blood if you can generate it.
yeah,
But if you want to fill slots and somebody's doing the job and nobody's complaining, why not,
I think it's, if there is a complaint though, that it gives that chance to exercise it. And I could
Right.
see that,
Well.
I
and-
haven't seen the need for
Right.
it, but yeah.
Anyway, what I'm saying is things like this limited thing works against what you're trying to propose. As
Right.
far as having continuity
Right.
on officers.
Yep.
So,
I also think that it was an action item a couple months ago that needs to be put back on the list of having all of our terms listed out, because that'll come into play with that succession,
Mhm.
knowing
Right.
when we're all due to step out.
Well, I told Susie that if she would step up to be the chair, I would be her vice chair. Susie and I were on the Friends Board together. We worked very, very well together, but
Yeah.
I wanted a little bit more time before, I would like a year under, but she has some commitments coming up next year, so she's thinking about it.
Yeah.
So,
Chris,
Yeah, I would, I will talk to Joe and I'll come back at our next meeting. No, I won't, I'm lying. I'm not going to be at our next meeting, but I will submit a report and find out which committees and we have, because this is an issue citywide. Some of them have term limits, some of them don't. And I'm not sure why that is. I'm more sympathetic to what you're saying here. I think that if we have people that want to serve in our city, we've had a vacancy here for some time. One of the reasons we're struggling with quorum now is because we have a vacancy and it'll be filled tomorrow, which doesn't help us tonight, but are we term limiting good people off of this yet? And the Parks and Rec Committee has, I think that Ryan Oliver's been there for 24 years now. And I'm not commenting on the length of service, just that the value of service is really remarkable in our community, and I'd like to celebrate that. So I'll come back to you guys and let you know what Joe tells me about that. And I'll even find out what the terms are. I was just looking at that today at a different issue. So
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lois, I think the second point relates to your term and you said that you know that you have to reapply.
yeah,
Do you have,
I don't know what to do other than put up my hand. and say,
okay, all right, we will find out
Yeah,
and.
because I
get back to you
was,
on that.
nominated and approved for a one-year term because it was
You should reapply.
I'm reapplying. I don't know what to do though.
Just fill out the little form.
Oh, there's a form?
Just change the date, the same information.
Yeah.
I'll send you a form.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on to the Oregon Administrative Rules, minimum requirements for Oregon Public Libraries. Danny printed out the entire packet, but he also gave me a separate single sheet that listed the bare minimum. There we go. Attachment C. 57. Oh. You want to look at it? Or no? Okay.
Clackamas County and Library District IGA attachment.
This thing.
Is it attachment C? Yeah. One of the,
Big PDF.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I looked through that earlier.
Yeah. This is basically our audit document, right?
yes.
Yeah. And I love the way he put it in terms of yes, nos. So it's my understanding that one of the duties of the Library Advisory Board is to kind of go through this and then help submit it to higher powers. I'm asking questions here.
I think that's what the board has done in the past with Irene. I don't think that we're expected to go through this entire packet in one evening. In the past, we broke it into sections.
Yeah, to me, when I looked at it, it seemed like it's something that should be broken down into sections. So in my past history, I got audited in multiple jobs on a very regular basis, and to say that it was painful would be a minor understatement. So there has to be a way. I mean, I actually believe in our auditing functions, but I was hoping Danny would give us some guidance on how we could do this so that we could make it as least painful as possible and yet make it worthwhile of going through the effort. I think it's also an opportunity to educate the Library Advisory Board members on functions of the library with which we may not be familiar. And I mean, I think that I'm more familiar with most, given how closely I worked with the library staff during COVID. But there's still stuff here that's just like way beyond me, but it would be really worthwhile to me to learn a lot more, but would like some guidance from Danny on how to do this in such a manner that it's not cumbersome to the library staff or to the Library Advisory Board members.
Well, I think that's reasonable. Should we table that point then until
And leave,
Danny's available?
yeah, leave the question, put the question to Danny of, this is something I think that he should really provide direction on. He is the library director. And yes, we have a duty to do certain things, but we also need to do it in a respectful and thoughtful manner. And that's considerate of our time too. I mean, you can make audits be long and painful. Sat through way too many of them. I would like this to be shorter and more meaningful and more educational.
I have one question.
Yes.
Is there a reason that he pulled out specifically at attachment C as far as, is he happy with it, or is he leaning toward it needs to be adjusted somewhere, or is it just to inform us to look it over? Or?
I think it's just for your information.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get a lot of prep for this meeting.
So he would be probably the one that needs to explain
Yes.
maybe where, because I want us to be able to help the library be better at what it's doing. And when I look at this, I wonder, is there an overwhelmingness of either lack or unbalance that needs to happen with each of these? I mean, access, materials, and staffing, you're talking about three really big sections of what makes the library work. So I think knowing where the pinch points are for the library would be good to know.
I mean, I do have some of this information. I know that our materials collection is meeting this threshold.
Okay,
And I know that since we expanded our open hours, we're meeting that minimum threshold of 50 hours a week
okay.
for a population our size. I'm not sure about the FTE,
Staffing,
right?
yeah,
So maybe Danny can clarify that point.
maybe, yeah, like paid staff versus volunteers. It's always been,
Right.
you guys tend to use a lot of volunteers where it would be better to have a staff member, but.
And on-calls who are paid but not regular staff.
Yeah, so I just wonder
we will
what
clarify
kind of
that.
drain that is on your activities.
Okay.
Thank you.
One question, I was trying to follow Danny's email when he was suggesting we pull this material together. And he was talking about the OLA standards and also the attachment C, which is part of the IGA, which I assume, that's a separate issue. And I was trying to kind of put the two together, and if it's a compare and contrast, or is it an enhancement? Because I was just taking key words, and I was starting with this, which is the IRA staffing, and this is, to me, this is more specific to the district. And I'm just looking at words. So I put this up as staffing, and then I go to the OLA standards, which was 50 pages, and I pulled out the pertinent standards that they're using, essentials, enhanced, extra special, that type of thing, and trying to blend them together and to see what kind of discussion we were going to have with him leading it. Not us leading it.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
Yeah, so I just pulled them all out, and it kind of goes a little bit hand in hand. And it's kind of like the OLA standards, okay, we want to know where we're at and how do we improve, or what are we missing, how do we line up? But this is really specific. It's kind of simplified. It's kind of really a simplification of things. Okay, and I don't know. We don't know I don't know the background of this attachment A. I don't know, I have no clue where this came from. The other does refer to below or above 2,000 population that you're working with, the OLA. So that's kind of the baseline they're working with. And I think they're spinning things off from that as far as the IGA is concerned. But I just don't know how we draw conclusions without him being here. That's what I'm trying to say. And I just took staff standards, and I'm like, okay, staff standards. Okay, I got something for OLA, it's 4 pages. I go to materials, I got 2 pages, materials. I 2 pages material. Then I go to access, and I had a hard time finding that. And the only place I found access was under minimum standards, minimum requirements, which is basically the opening paragraphs that dictate the rest of the information. So it tells you what minimum requirements are, and it comes into basically explaining part of the access situation. So again, I don't have anything to add except that I was trying to work with his email is what I was trying to do. And I think we should, like, the suggestion has come up, I think we have to have him here for direction on something like this.
I think so. But I'm sure that you can email him individually with specific questions, and hopefully he will address those in the next
Okay.
library director report. Are there any action items?
I still have
Oh,
a question.
sorry.
In the packet that was sent out to us, we got Judy Jarris's notes from January. Was there a particular reason why these were sent to us at this time? Does anyone know? I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be discussed, but it's hard to do it with only half of the board here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was interesting read though.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of very good ideas in here that need to be discussed, but
difficult to do it with.
Maybe it was just forgotten before, because that was the first time I saw it.
Yeah. Okay. That was it.
Okay.
I think the only action items are to just roll over a couple of topics to the next meeting. Unless anyone wanted to add anything else.
So I think,
I think just rolling it over, the two action items would be that Chris was going to make that clarification on his end, and I was going to talk with Kathleen and try to come up with the basics for the positions.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I
That
got-
sounds good.
I just got one discussion, it's not an action.
Okay.
And this refers to, we found out somehow, I didn't find out myself personally, but Kathleen advised me that tomorrow evening is a city council meeting, one of the regular meetings. And I've got a copy of the agenda, which I just kind of printed it earlier today. And maybe you can help us on this. On the new business, under item C, it says, this is a discussion regarding boards, commission, and committee member reappointments. And I guess the reason I bring that up is that whether you feel that based whatever knowledge you have of this, you suggest that a board member be at the meeting to either observe or comment or something like that.
So this was brought up by Councilor Parker at the last meeting in response to our, I don't know, long-standing policy. I'm not sure how long. So some of our boards do not have term limits. And then if you are willing to serve again, we don't even post it, we just roll it over. So the city council has the authority to make the appointments, but if no one leaves the committee over a period of years, then there's no turnover. There's an effort to have the council reassert its authority and make those decisions on who should serve. So I don't think it has any effect on the library advisory board because we have term limits here. And I will try and find out if we can lift those term limits. But if we were to lift those term limits and then Lois's position comes vacant, then, and my position would be, then that position should be posted as a vacancy. So people who want to apply have the opportunity to apply, and then the council has to make that choice, going through the same process that we did with the interviews and recommendation to the council.
Okay.
But that's been omitted for a number of positions. And I don't know exactly why some of them have term limits and some don't. That's the part I'm going to try and find out.
So it's strictly confined to term limits is the overall topic.
Yeah, because well, so like here we don't have a problem where,
Yeah.
where people serve for 20 years, but there's a concern that everybody in all of our committees and boards is white and that a quarter of us are not. And so there is a concern that we don't have any voices from the quarter of our population that's not white, but they don't have as many opportunities to apply because these vacancies don't get posted. That was the origin of that for 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So that's the operating word. It's reappointments, appointments, reappointments.
Yeah, it's for reappointment. So
It's got nothing
currently,
to do with liaison situations that you brought up at one point, a couple.
no,
meetings
and I
ago.
read your guys, I wasn't here for that because I had a curriculum meeting.
Yeah, well,
And I understand your position on that.
we had a consensus that we would want to remain the same
Right.
situation that we got now.
I don't think we're discussing that
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
I think that there is an effort by some people on the council, including me, that the liaison appointments are not made by the mayor, but by the council. So in my experience, the mayor makes the appointments to liaison positions, and the mayor sits in on interviews for many of those. And so the mayor has the ability to control to a certain extent who gets to serve on these committees. And there's an effort by some councilors to assert council authority over those decisions. But I don't think that's going to happen very quickly.
So there's no planned discussion of that at all. So you don't see an actual reason why we have to be there tomorrow night, anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And I don't think it affects the library advisory board,
Okay,
particularly because we have a hard time filling vacancies.
okay.
Like, it's not like we've got a big door rush. I'm not sure there is anywhere, honestly. I don't know if we have a large number of people that want to be planning commissioners or maybe utility board members.
Okay.
These meetings are once a month. Nobody comes. The fame that you get is discipline. And the pay, I understand, is even worse. So like, it's not like that we're getting our doors beaten down for people that want to serve, but there is an effort to try and make it so that there's more opportunity for people to start getting involved if they want to.
And we can't predict if they take a left turn and go on tangents tomorrow night. I mean, that's.
No, I don't think so.
But it's focused on.
And we're also not very quick at making change either.
Yeah, okay, I understand that.
We noticed.
And if we, so I would like to eliminate the term limits on the library advisory board. That's not going to happen anytime soon. You guys still need to find a new chair and vice chair, et cetera, for this next year, because we can't move that fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Are there any announcements before we adjourn?
Just a couple. First place, I apologize for missing the last meeting. It was not my plan. I meant to talk with Kathleen and get a cell phone connection because I would have texted last time and said, I can't make it, but I didn't, I don't have Danny's phone number. I don't have any of you guys' phone numbers. So perhaps we should do that sometime when there's more than.
Well, I
half of
think
us here.
that, isn't that what Kathleen's working on, is that
Yeah.
contact list, which with cell
Yeah.
phone numbers?
Yeah, and I talked to
So
her
that-
about that.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm not going to be here at the June meeting, and I don't want to tell you exactly where I'm going to be, but I'm not going to be able to make it to this meeting in that time, but I will send you an email about that. That term limit stuff and the investigation on I'm going to send you the form to
Right.
reapply.
Thank you.
And I'm going to try and find out why we have term limits here and how we can fix that if we want to.
Okay.
Also, I would just add respectfully that I think in the time when the chair and the vice chair don't show up, it's not the city staff's responsibility to lead the meeting. One of you guys needed to be appointed. And I'm not sure what the procedure is, and that's why I didn't raise that issue.
Standing in for Danny.
Okay,
Yeah,
That was it.
I volunteered to lead the meeting.
which was, I think, helpful. Like, I didn't have any problem with it.
Danny had asked her. and
Perfect.
She looked at me and I said.
Sounds good to me. I thought Lizzie did a fine job.
She did.
She always does a fine job.
Just so you know, though, Danny is going to miss the June meeting. He has asked me in advance to present the library director's information, but presumably the chair will be running that meeting. And we will have a whole month to prepare.
So should I propose that we end the meeting? I move to end the meeting, adjourn. Somebody needs a second.
I second that.
Everybody in favor?
I.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you all.
I think that's the real reason why this is coming. But it wasn't my issue.